Secretary Ross, what can you tell us about commerce? In a moment, we're going to speak with your colleague, Stephen Mnuchin. Sure. He's going to be joining the conversation momentarily to talk about his comments on the dollar and where we are in terms of economic growth. Obviously, we're talking about 4% growth now in the U.S. How would you characterize things from a commerce and consumer spending standpoint?
Well, it's very good. One of the best things for consumer spending is that there's something approaching 2 million American workers who got $1,000 bonuses in January, specifically because of the tax bill. Who would ever have thought that that would happen? But that's high-velocity money because that's incremental money, mostly to people in the middle-income bracket, very high propensity to spend, and therefore that money will get pumped right into the economy.
Yeah, I think that there's a pushback on the left basically saying some of this stuff was going to happen anyway. Some of this money was going to come to the U.S. again.
I'm not talking just about the money being repatriated from the corporation.
Those bonuses.
I'm talking about 2 million Americans getting an extra $1,000 specifically identified by their employers due to the tax bill. It was led by AT&T, and then hundreds of companies have fallen into line doing it.
Oh, I know.
Who has ever expected anything like that?
Did the president ask those companies to do that?
No, this was a totally voluntary thing. Yeah. Now, we were pretty confident because of a report done by the Council of Economic Advisors. We were pretty confident that it would result in higher pay, but we didn't realize that it would be instantaneous.
Yeah, it was actually pretty extraordinary. Yesterday, you said that there have always been trade wars, that the difference now, U.S. troops are now coming to the ramparts. Were you suggesting that the U.S. is engaging in somewhat of a trade war, or this is just the way people look at it?
What I meant was this. Every time someone violates trade rules, that to me is an act of war. Dumping steel is an act of war. Dumping aluminum is an act of war. Dumping anything. Forcing technology transfers, same thing. That's what I had in mind. But in terms of the conventional definition, namely we drop tariffs, the next guy does, next guy, a kind of race to the bottom, that's not what we're talking about, nor do I think there's any chance of that happening.
The U.S. is obviously doing much better than we've seen in a number of years, and you're also seeing synchronized global growth, right? So Europe is also being talked about a lot. I know Macron, president of France, is getting some high marks. What can you tell us about what you're seeing in Europe?
Well, Europe is doing better by far. I had dinner with the King of Spain the other evening, and he was very bullish about what's going on there, even with the little insurrection in Catalonia. There's a good feeling, and it's partly because the U.S. is doing so well. You know, we really are still the engine that drives the world. I was with Liam Fox, the UK minister, yesterday, and we were talking about how they're adapting to the forthcoming Brexit. And they have now adopted a system we've been using in commerce, namely putting commercial people in the embassies around the world and, in fact, in locations beyond the embassy in the regions. Not foreign ministry people, but commerce people, because they're going to start a big marketing campaign to try to boost their own exports. Yeah. So things are changing. There's a sense I'm getting a very constructive change in world trade. I think they know we're not going to be suckers anymore.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that the IMF raised expectations for growth on a number of countries, obviously the U.S. included, but not the U.K. Isn't it interesting to see the U.K. now become the underperformer in Europe?
Well, they aren't, actually. They had a pretty good quarter, the last quarter. And when you consider all the uncertainties related to Brexit, the performance there is actually pretty good, including their export performance was good.
Let me ask you about the next couple of weeks. Obviously, you're going to be engaged in these NAFTA talks. Right. When would you expect clarity in terms of what this new NAFTA deal looks like?
Oh, I think we're going to probably have some outcomes from the Montreal talks that are going on right now, and then there's another round scheduled a few weeks later. I think those two will begin to get to the serious issues. The issues that have been dealt with so far have been mostly ones that are important in a sense, but not make or break issues. We're now getting to the important ones, and that's the right sequence. You want to start with the easy things, build a sense of momentum, and then get to the tough things toward the end.
And the most important issue is the fact that the U.S. is a deficit versus Mexico.
Right. Well, it's not just the fact of the deficit, it's why is there a deficit. And the worst part of it is a lot of the imports we're getting in from Mexico have a very high Asian content because the rules of origin were not very effectively put together in the original NAFTA. So it's a silly trade agreement that encourages goods from outside to come in.
Really interesting. We'll talk more about that.